Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. In the lead up to Scream 7, I couldn't be more grateful for everybody out there who listens to the show, who supports my podcast here, listening every episode, or on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you would like to become a member of the podcast, come to the group Zooms, be on the show on a one-on-one or small group setting, consider joining the Patreon with Scream with Ryan C. Showers. In addition to the benefits of coming on the podcast, you can also join our social media groups, in particular on Instagram. That's the main hub of the podcast. I also do a monthly audio commentary of a Scream movie or a Scream-related film. From now through April, we are going to be having a new Scream movie audio commentary. So if you would like to hear my thoughts in an audio commentary form in the style of Wes Craven, Marion Maddalena, et al. Of the original trilogy, please consider subscribing and supporting the show. Thank you to every single person out there who subscribes on Patreon. Specifically, I need to thank my Daddy Ghost Faces and Stab investors over at Patreon. Starting out strong, we have Carrie Tenney, our Mama Ghostface, Corey Wilson, and Brett Janovich. And then we have Kevin Abner, Ali, Roy Garza, Josh Carr, Mark Rim, PWO5, Gustavo Mora, Mark Vieira, Scream Queens podcast, both Josh and Justine, Joey Nobarini, aka The Vault, The Horror Project podcast, David D, Jess Mariano, Sam Levy, Tamika Jones, Josh Calamari, and Andrew Dominguez. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. So this episode, premiering the day after Christmas, because Scream 1996 is a Christmas movie, is the audio commentary of Scream, the original film directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, the movie that started it all. So we have just eclipsed the 29th anniversary of this movie we all love. So here we are. I have been wanting to do audio commentaries of the Scream films basically since I started the podcast, and I just needed to find the right time and place and moment. And I had this vision to kind of revamp the Patreon bonus content for the podcast back in April, and that's when we started doing the audio commentary episodes. And I love doing these. I think it's just such a fun thing to be able to do, for me to kind of pour my heart out to everybody and why it is I love these films and what they exactly mean to me and how I understand them. So here we are. So how this is going to go is I'm going to be narrating the original Scream. So you can either listen to me as a normal podcast episode, or you can have the Scream 1996 playing while I'm talking, and like you'll hear my thoughts as you're seeing the visual, just like you would an audio commentary that you could play off of a DVD. And the kids today will be like, "What are DVDs?" I'm just teasing. So, okay. So I'm going to give a countdown whenever I'm about to start the movie so we can sync up. It's so fun. I'm literally recording this on Monday, December 22nd, 2025. So there's been a lot of Scream 1996 in the air because the anniversary was on Saturday, the 20th, of course. And so there was just tons and tons of Scream celebration, in an above average way, which is always fun. But it's also like, okay, you come to make a tweet about Scream or a post about Scream, once a year, like, okay, poser, hashtag not a true fan. It's also fun for me because I just released the final Scream, which is Joey Valise's final spec script for the podcast, and that episode and that story is so much tied to the original film, not in the Scream 4 way, not in the requel way, not in the Scream 5 way, but really in the spiritual sense, in like this eclipse of like the beginning and the end. I would argue that a lot of that script is a prequel, so it's been on my mind a lot, this movie that we're about to watch together. So okay, let us get ready to hit play And if you're out there just listening to this on the main feed, it will be available to subscribers only on Patreon, any paid tier. So head on over to Patreon and listen to the full episode of me talking about Scream as we sit and watch it. And honestly, I think I was thinking about this, maybe down the road we can even expand this out and do different forms of audio commentaries. I don't think this is the last time I'm going to be doing an audio commentary of Scream, but it won't be for a while. So, we're going to do Scream this month, then Scream 2 next month. Scream 3 will be February because that was the month it came out. In March, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing the Scream 4 deleted scenes as an audio commentary, which I know sounds weird, but Scream 4 comes out in April, so I'd rather keep that for that month. And the deleted scenes are so important to Scream, so I just think it'd be kind of a fun episode. So I'm definitely doing these 4 right now. I don't know when I'm doing 5 and 6. I don't know if I'll do them right after or if I'll wait to do them next year. That's kind of my inclination, is wait to do Scream 5 next January of 2027, just because that will be its 5th anniversary. And I like doing. I have the best attitude about Scream 5 in the months of December and January, because that's when the buzz was first for Scream 5, and that's where I most loved it. So, anyways, okay, folks, I'm gonna press play and I'm gonna sync up. I'll do a countdown. So if you're watching at home and you are watching Scream with me, we can watch together. So I am at minute 000. I haven't even seen the Dimension logo yet, so get ready. We're going to count down I'm going to press play after I say 1. Okay, so we're going to go 3, 2, 1, play. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, and play. Okay, here we go. Here's the Dimension logo, the infamous Dimension logo, and this haunting sound. I think that Scream 1 has a much scarier, more intense vibe than the sequels do. Even sometimes Scream 2 and Scream 3, and you can sense it even in just these first 20 seconds of the sounds and that logo coming in so hard. So yeah. And there she is, our Casey Becker. Oh my gosh. So can I be real? I don't love the blonde bob. It's not that I don't love it. Okay, it's that I know that it's a wig. However, by today's wig standards, I mean, it's obviously a really good wig compared to a lot of the shit that we see on these Netflix Hulu crap, but, it is what it is. Courtney Cox once said that Drew Barrymore gives one of the best acting performances ever in these first 15 minutes. And I agree with her. Drew Barrymore is so good here. But anyways, here we are. And we get the infamous shot of the tree, and we can see the swing going back and forth. One could think it's the wind. One could think that it was from someone walking past and creating, movement. So, and the Jiffy Pop. I've actually never made Jiffy Pop. People buy it for me all the time. My sister bought it for me one time for Christmas. My friend Carrie got it for me once. They go on my Christmas tree, my Scream Christmas tree, which is silly, but. So Casey Becker is odd. I would love to know who she is outside of the opening scene. We spend so much time with her voice to voice. I mean, it's so interesting. She has probably, so I don't have the data right in front of me, but Drew Barrymore has about 10 minutes of screen time in Scream 1. And that's equivalent to a lot of the supporting characters in Scream 1. So we spend a lot of time with her. The knife shot. We will never recreate that, despite how much we try. Yeah. But, the thing about Casey Becker is she seems genuinely sweet on the phone at times. I don't really see her. I mean, yes, flirtatious a little bit, but she seems like a genuinely sweet, American girl. And, I don't know. It's just she seems like a decent person. You know what I mean? And that's what makes her in the opening so effective, is her death is so tragic because, she's so innocent. Even if she is just flirting here and there. Who doesn't flirt? Come on, give me a break. And there is the switch up. So I want to mark this. So 2:40, minute 2:40, that is whenever the movie switches from being, just a girl at home answering the phone, making popcorn, to a scary movie. I want to know who I'm looking at. Oh my gosh, so creepy, so scary. I love this shot of Drew when she hangs up the phone and she walks off into walks away from the patio doors. I don't know why, I've always loved it. I don't know. Also, I can tell every moment of ADR in this movie. Like when she just said shit right there, I'm pretty sure Wes Craven confirmed it at some point, or it was confirmed somewhere. I just I know these movies so well. I know when their lips are moving and when they're not. So so and I just love, isn't this the brilliance of both Wes and Kevin? The slow build up to really, really intense. You know, this is like classic Ghostface line. That line and like the intensity and how scary it is. Like that is so memorable as Ghostface, and that's like kind of what the brilliance of this opening is in a lot of ways, is that it's creating a formula for who Ghostface is, how he talks on the phone, how this franchise is going to operate. You know, so. Also, Wes's direction is so interesting with the POV shots here. Like we see Casey from Casey's point of view outside the front door, and like how the glass kind of like shifts and shapes, and the camera reflects that. We really see it from her point of view in a way that, like, you know, I don't know. He doesn't really do. I guess in Scream 1 he does it more than he does in other films, but this is like kind of like a unique direction choice, I think. I think the great thing about what Billy and Sue are doing to Casey in this scene is like they are exhausting her, you know, like right when she's ready to call the police and she thinks that she can like make her next move, she can't. The phone rings and she keeps going and going and going. And it's also just, you know, the scary thing about Scream is to think about like these are kids killing kids. These are, you know, because like the actors don't appear so high schoolish. They you can tell that they're adults, you know. It's hard. It's really important to remember that, like, that's what's so sick and crazy about this. This isn't an adult stalking kids. These are kids killing kids. So there's a meme of Taylor Swift saying this, and it's hilarious. He's big and he plays football, and he'll kick the shit out of you. Shaking in my boots, and like that's fun because it's like a line. It's a line from pop culture. It's a colloquial phrase, but then also the killer literally wears black boots, right? And isn't that so cool? Like how smart the killer is and how much he is prepared to take down Casey and to, you know, just completely wreck her emotionally is like, you know, you know, before she references the boyfriend, she pretends like she doesn't have one, whenever she plays this dance. And then he's like, no, I know you have a boyfriend. I already have him tied up. Like that goes into the exhaustion of what they're doing to Casey and overwhelming her with so much. So the poor Steve out here, first of all, he's very cute. I would have loved to have seen him without the duct tape. But also, you know, here's something about the original Scream trilogy that I really, really respect, that I think the Radio Silence era lost. And that is the lore, the world of Woodsboro, the world of Windsor, the world of Hollywood, the world of Stab. We see, like, you know, even just in this one shot, we have the Woodsboro High School colors, the athletic jacket. It's that stuff is really important, but also like how impressive Wes Craven was at kind of thinking about this sequence and mapping it out. Both as a director, but also for the actors, like the way that Steve is like looking around each side, because he knows that there's two killers. He's looking from side to side. It got me from side to side. I remember first watching this and like these questions, they're so impactful. And I think this is like the thing about Scream 1 versus the sequels, that the sequels have never truly gotten right, is like the references to other meta stuff, you know, they are never as hard hitting, they're never as identifiable, they're never as classic as what we have here. We have Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. And like honestly, this is such a fun trick question that Ghostface gives to Casey. My favorite Drew Barrymore line right here. Saw that movie 20 goddamn times. Both like her voice, her eyes, her body language, the way she's trying to command it. She's trying so hard to get the upper hand. And now the devastation of knowing that she was wrong and that the killer is going to kill Steve anyways. Wow. Yeah. I mean, her performance is so amazing. I can't even. Wow. Also, this shot of both shots of Casey reacting, but Steve with his guts falling out, gruesome, and we hear the guts spleening out. falling on out of the body onto the lab, onto the ground. We can literally hear that in the sound effects. Brilliant. In the unrated cut, I'm sure everybody knows, right? It's much more gruesome. I like seeing that, but this is my version, right? So whenever I see the unrated cut, it's like, ooh, this is different. This is weird. So I like it because it kind of shocks me a little bit, but I still think this is super effective and scary. Like, the thing is, this sequence would have been scary without the gore. And that's what makes Wes Craven and Scream what it is. And some people sometimes say like Scream is more of a thriller than a horror. And I think like you totally get that from this sequence. This is such a perfectly structured sequence. Like, there's been so much dialogue. Wes Craven goes up and down, and now we're going into the action part of it, right? Wow. So this part right here terrified me as a child. First of all, I love her grabbing the knife. I love the sound effect. Ooh, I love this shot of her holding the phone and the knife, and she's shaking. Oh, so epic. And then boom, the shot of just the black robe. We don't see the face. And it's just like this black bob dashing across the screen. That was one of the most terrifying things for me as a little kid. Scream 1 just starts out so strong. I can't even. But like, see, here's the thing about like beautiful filmmaking. It's kind of like beautiful music is like and like beautiful wine, or like, there are different notes that you hit and you go up and down, and like you plateau and then you go down a little bit, then down really hard and then up again. And you see it in this opening sequence. It's almost like Wes Craven is conducting music in terms of like the tone and how much he's putting on, like how much stress he's putting on the audience and Casey at a given time. And like, the mystery of it, the hope of it, and then the way that like the killer outsmarts her, like it's such an intelligently thoughtful sequence from a directorial standpoint, as well as just writing. I mean, like the writing here is out of this world. I have to give Kevin Williamson props, like the greatest scene of all time, right? Yeah. And she gets to see Steve. Wow. Again, poor Casey. She is being relentlessly hunted. So one thing is like we see the original mask, like the I don't know the names of it. Like, say, I could tell you every single thing about the films themselves and the story and the characters. I don't know the masks shit. I'm sorry, I don't know the memorabilia. But I know like this is the first mask that they used, the original before it was kind of like reshaped and made for the movies. And then there's the movie mask right there as he's choking her out. A beautiful shot of Ghostface too. That's like the first time we really get to see Ghostface like in the prom, even like in the moment with the window. It's still cutting really fast. We see Casey screaming, we see Ghostface, we see this boom, 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 boom. We see glass shattering, we see the knife, boom, and whenever he's on top of her, choking her out, that's the first time we really actually get to see and sit with just the mask on the screen. So my friend Zach Cherry did this YouTube video. I'm sure everybody in the world has seen it. It's like, how did the killers do the Casey murder? I interrupt that for a second. My favorite part of the opening is right here, where the bloody hand is up on the mask and takes it off. We need a moment like that again, but it has to be an important character. It can't just be the Liv of Scream 5 who gets to do that. But also this is so gruesome and so emotional. It hits so close in your heart, seeing parents like on the phone hearing their daughter get killed. We don't see the killing, we just see the knife going down and down and down. That is so brilliant and sad and scary, but the blood here, the prosthetics, it's out of this world. I mean, it's just like, wow. This sequence, I've seen this sequence literally 800, 900, 1,000 times in my life. And even so, I just feel so arrested right now, sitting here talking about it with you guys. So, I believe that there's a little bit of Jamie Lee Curtis, her scream in that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like her scream was mixed in there. So unpopular opinion. There are people who think that this shot on Casey should have lasted much longer, how it was in the unrated cut. I disagree. I like this cut more. I like getting to the point. I think the original one is almost gratuitous. It feels like empty footage in some respects, but this is so beautiful. And there's our girl. The first time we're seeing our girl, Sidney Prescott. Oh my God. Anyways, going back to my friend Zach Cherry, he did this amazing YouTube video. It's so memorable, describing how Billy and Stu operated at Casey's house, like where each of them were, like at the back door, the front door, moving throughout the house, like who was doing what. I highly recommend doing that. See, I could do that as an episode, but Zach's already done it, and I can't do better than Zach. So it's like I'd rather do something that I can be good at, you know. And see, this is the brilliance of Wes Craven. We are introduced to the fact that the door can be locked with the two doors, right? In a very innocent way, in a very natural way, that doesn't feel like exposition. So, the iconic Neil Prescott outfit that we would see on Trevor Shelton in the future movies and other iterations. But yeah, I don't know. The relationship between Sidney and Neil, even though we only get them a little bit, is fascinating to me. I also just feel like Sidney thinks the world of her dad, don't you? Like in that moment just there, like I just feel the beaming coming from her, you know? So whenever I had radio silence on the podcast back all those years ago, I'll hold that thought. So we get the Exorcist line again. This is so brilliant. I'm sorry, like the idea of like a relationship not really having the juice or the good stuff anymore. It's such a funny nerdy reference to say it's like a solid R rating going to TV and being edited for TV. All the good stuff was cut out. So digestible, so memorable, so cinephile coded. Yeah. Also, the way that Wes shoots these two actors, I just feel like I'm in the room with them. It's so intimate, and that's kind of the brilliance of what they do. What the actors do, but also the way that Wes puts the camera. Like I think Wes Craven is one of the greatest directors in terms of working with actors and showcasing characters and making us feel close to them. And like this is like the perfect example of it. Like the way Billy looks at the camera, where Wes has the camera, we feel like he's looking into our soul, you know. But at the same time, we also get Sydney's perspective, and she's so soft and like welcoming, and we so. Anyways, so I know that culture is different today. I get that, okay? But like I don't, in terms of sex. And I was not a heterosexual, of course. I say that as the past tense. I am not a heterosexual, and I did not grow up heterosexual. But like I would feel like back in like 2006, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, a couple, getting to make out and kind of like lay on top of her. Like there's not like that kind of fits. Like you should be happy, I feel like maybe I just grew up too sheltered. But like not everybody is having sex. Maybe they were. I don't know. But so Matt Bettinelli Opplin was on this podcast back in 2022, and he said that he thought that this scene of Sydney that is one of the best character introductions of all time. And I like this scene. I love this scene. I love Sydney, and I think that it's also defines her really well because like even though this is a murder mystery and it is about Sydney's friend group and so many different characters, at the core of this movie is Billy and Sydney. In a way, like Billy, if this were the Oscars, Sydney would be lead actress. You could almost make an argument that Billy should be lead actor. He should be the lead actor, just because in some ways it is a two-hander. It is about Sydney, whether she suspects it's Billy or not. I don't know if I agree with Matt that this is one of the best character introductions of all time. It could be. I prefer her opening scenes of Scream 2 and especially Scream 3 more, but I like this scene. It's very nice. And it does a lot of work. We learn a lot about Sydney. We learn that we're starting to get the nuggets of who she is, the fact that she has the intimacy issues, the fact that there's like, there's no mom, blah, 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 blah. So. Atmosphere. We are in Woodsboro the next day. Oh my God. Ugh. But see, here's the thing about like what Wes Craven did with the original 3 films, and I'll extend it to 4. It's just like create this kind of environment. Like you can feel this scene. You can feel the texture of it. You get that from like both the sound, the visuals, the perspectives, the colors. But I just feel like everyone who feels nostalgic about Scream 1, you would probably agree with me that like there's a feel to the crowd scenes of Scream 1 and the environment. I don't know. Like there's something so chilly about it that makes it but yet homey, I don't know. Splatter movie killed. Ripped open from end to end. Sex to me in English. Not anymore. See, like that today would get someone canceled. Like I'm sorry, like but that's how we talked in the 90s. Get over it. So look at this fashion. Not only Tatum and Sydney, but also the way that each of them is dressed here is so their personalities. Tatum is fun and bright, and Sydney is blue, literally blue and muted. I don't know. We shall see if that continues, if that kind of trend is Sydney and her Tatum, her daughter Tatum. And I loved how melancholy this scene is. Like, of Sydney sitting in class, she sees the empty desk, and like the weight of Casey's death really, you could feel it in the film. And that's something that I think that the radio silence era, especially Scream 6, oh my God, lost. I wish we could get back to a place like this. And I think that it's in Wes's films, like all three of the Wes's films. All three of Wes's sequels, but especially like the trilogy. Especially Scream 1. There are things about Scream 1 that just feel so heavy and like dark, emotionally dark. And I think a lot of us like to live in that space. So also the principal touching Sydney's face like that completely. See, maybe I'm being too woke here, but like that to me is gross. I've always thought that was weird. If my principal ever touched my face like that, that would be weird. Imagine a principal doing that to a male, a male student. Imagine him touching Billy Loomis's face like that. Gross, weird, I love that Tatum is the driver of this scene. Like she really is. Everyone else is talking. Sydney talks a little bit, but like, and there's Matthew Lillard, our king, our Scream King, Matthew Lillard. My journey with Stu is fun. And we get the reference of the ice pick that Sydney will then, of course, stab Roman with and kind of put an end to this trilogy. We're already talking about feminism. We're already talking about men versus women. And I think that like a lot of the original trilogy is a little bit, there is a huge feminist statement about the original trilogy. Like Sydney's constantly going up against a man who is kind of cloaked in misogyny, who's calling her mother a slut and viewing Maureen in a certain way, characterizing her in a certain way, and punishing Sydney for something that isn't her fault, right? But even Mrs. Loomis, even though she is a woman, she is still acting on behalf of her son. It's almost like those moms that like think that their sons do no wrong, So, and we have Jamie Kennedy as Randy. Oh my God. I met him at the 90s con. He was very weird. And I've heard this from other people, like that this is a consistent through line. He was very chill. I don't know. Weird. If you know, you know. I love that Billy and Stu here are both like looking at each other. They're both trying to establish alibis for each other, both trying to establish like parameters so that they aren't suspects. And I don't know, I don't remember how I felt about Stu whenever I first watched it. Whenever I first watched Scream, I thought that Billy was absolutely the killer the whole time. But Stu kind of slides under the radar. I did suspect him because I did have attention towards him because I knew him as Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, of course. But I don't know, over time, my opinions of Stu have changed and shifted. And I don't want to say I've gone along with the crowd, but as Matthew Lillard has been embraced, I have also embraced him as Stu. But and we get Sidney Prescott's house on Elm. Oh my God. See, and like this scope, this hearing Sidney's lament, the sounds of the woman's mixed with that house. There's a reason why when we see this house again in Scream 3, we know, we feel where we are, and I just, I hate the way that movies are made today. I hate that we don't really get sets like this. We don't get space like this. We don't get to feel like this. And the never ending mountains and wine country that we see here. It's just so beautiful. Yeah. And I know this is like weird. Like a lot of people when they come on the podcast, they tell me that like Sydney's first phone call that we're about to see is their favorite scene in any of the films. I love this sequence here, that before the phone call, like when it's still daylight, because I just love seeing Sydney exist. And so there are people who think that Stu is in the closet or Billy's in the closet and they are there all this time while Sydney takes a nap. I disagree. I think, no, she would have seen them. So, or felt their presence. I mean, this is still Sydney motherfucking Prescott. So I just love seeing Sydney at home by herself, walking around on the phone, just feeling our vibes, you know, with the music, the performance, the look, the space, like, but also look what it's doing here. You know, we're seeing the crime scenes and like the reporters, and then we go back to Maureen. You know, we see Casey, you know, Casey reporter, and then we go to Gail, who brings up Maureen Prescott. That is how you do brilliant writing, my friends. It's like, here's the current events, but oh, here's how it relates to, you know, our lead actress, you know, many years ago. The reveal of information, where it's placed, and how you intersperse it with, you know, the other information of the plot is really important. And I think Kevin Williamson, I mean, people commend his writing so much in the original film, but I wish, you know, it's not just the meta. It's not just, you know, the two killer aspect. There is something about like the reveal of information and the way that he conceives the story and the layers that I wish that the focus was there, as opposed to, oh my God, they're talking about horror movies, you know? So, but yeah, I just love that sequence, you know, of Sydney just being by herself in her home, and we get to know her a little bit. Like that's it kind of is like the Laurie Strode in Halloween when we see her, you know, walking into her house, walking into her bedroom. I mean, that is probably, if you ask Kevin, he would probably say that is the blueprint of what he was doing with. Thank you everybody for listening to this public preview of the commentary for this month. If you would like to listen to the complete audio commentary for the movie, please head on over to Patreon, Scream with RCS, subscribe at any tier to get the audio for this movie, for the audio commentary. Or if you subscribe at a higher tier 2 or above, you can get the video for me performing the commentary while watching the movie. So again, everybody, thank you so much for supporting the podcast.